Welcome. You're about to experience the wisdom of the most powerful man in history without spending weeks reading through ancient texts. This video is a comprehensive, high-level summary of Marcus Aurelius's Meditations. We've distilled years of Stoic philosophy into this single session, designed specifically as an immersive audiobook experience to save you maximum time and effort. Instead of struggling with dense translations, you can simply hit play, lean back, and absorb the core pillars that will help you master your mind and conquer your day. If you want the full power of the Philosopher King's diary in a fraction of the time, you're in the right place. Let's begin.
Marcus Aurelius was the most powerful man on earth, the Emperor of Rome. Yet he faced a life of constant war, a devastating plague, and personal betrayal. He didn't write Meditations for an audience. He wrote it as a survival guide for his own soul. It is the ultimate manual for remaining calm in chaos and finding power in self-mastery. To understand Marcus is to understand that your happiness depends entirely on the quality of your thoughts. Let's break down the 4 pillars of his philosophy that will change how you see the world forever.
Pillar 1. The discipline of perception. Marcus believed that our suffering does not come from what happens to us, but from our judgment of what happens. He famously wrote, "The universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make of it." This is the realization that between every external event and our internal reaction, there is a space. In that space lies our freedom. If someone insults you, that is an objective event, vibrations in the air. The harm only exists if you choose to perceive it as an insult. If you refuse to feel harmed, the harm disappears. To master perception, Marcus utilized a technique we now call objective representation. He would strip away the emotional labels we attach to things. When he saw his expensive purple imperial robes, he didn't see a status symbol. He saw sheep's wool dyed with the blood of a shellfish. When he looked at a gourmet meal, he saw a dead pig or a dead bird. By deconstructing the things we desire or fear into their raw physical components, we remove their power over us. In modern life, this means seeing a luxury car as just a metal box on wheels, or a hateful comment as just a string of pixels on a screen. When you see things as they truly are, without the gilding of social value or ego, you can no longer be manipulated by them. This leads to the concept of the inner citadel. Marcus describes the mind as a fortress. While the world can attack your body, your reputation, or your bank account, it cannot breach the walls of your mind unless you allow it. You are the sovereign ruler of your internal world. This is the ultimate form of resilience. It means that no matter how loud the world gets, you can find a place of total silence within yourself. You stop being a victim of circumstances and become an observer of facts. You realize that you don't control the weather, the economy, or other people's opinions, but you have absolute power over how you interpret them. Finally, the discipline of perception allows for the art of reframing. Marcus argued that the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. This is the foundation of turning every obstacle into an opportunity. If a project fails, your perception can see it as a tragedy, or it can see it as a masterclass in resilience. The obstacle isn't blocking your path, it is the path to a stronger version of yourself. You become like a roaring fire that consumes everything thrown into it, using the very obstacles of life as fuel to burn even brighter.
Pillar 2. The discipline of action. Once your perception is clear, you must move to the discipline of action. Stoicism is not a philosophy of passive thinking, it is a philosophy of vigorous doing. Marcus Aurelius was a man of immense duty. He woke up every morning and told himself, "I have to go to work as a human being." He believed that we were not born to seek pleasure or comfort, but to fulfill our function as rational, social beings. Just as an ant, a bee, or a bird performs its role in nature without complaining, a human must perform their duty to the human community. The core of Stoic action is the reserve clause.
This is the mental habit of saying, I will do my best to achieve this goal if nothing prevents me. This simple addition changes everything. It means you are 100% committed to the effort, but you remain internally detached from the result. Think of an archer. The archer controls the training, the aim, and the release of the arrow. But once the arrow leaves the bow, the wind or the movement of the target is out of their control. A Stoic finds satisfaction in the aiming, not the hitting. By focusing on the quality of your work rather than the outcome, you eliminate the anxiety of failure. You become unstoppable because your success is defined by your integrity, which is always in your control. Furthermore, Marcus emphasizes the power of essentialism. He advises us to ask ourselves at every moment, is this necessary? Most of what we do and say is a waste of energy. We chase status, we argue with strangers online, and we worry about things that don't matter. By tutting away these superfluous actions, we get the double benefit of doing a better job at the things that do matter and having more peace of mind. To act stoically is to focus on the vital few and do them with absolute excellence. It is about doing less, but doing it with radiant justice. Action must also be guided by justice and kindness. Marcus believed that we are all part of one body, the Logos. To harm another person is to harm yourself. He argued that the best revenge is to not be like that. When faced with an enemy, your action should be to remain virtuous. You don't act well because others deserve it. You act well because it is who you are. Whether you are leading an empire or making a video, your duty is to be useful to others. Every small act of service is a victory for the soul. This pillar turns your daily work into a sacred ritual, where the reward is not the paycheck or the praise, but the knowledge that you have lived as a just man.
Pillar 3. The discipline of will. The third pillar is the discipline of will, or what Stoics call the discipline of desire. While the first two pillars were about how we see the world and how we act within it, this pillar is about how we handle what we cannot change. It is about our internal attitude toward the inevitable blows of fate. Marcus Aurelius believed that the universe is governed by a rational order, logos, and that fighting against the events of life is like a limb trying to detach itself from the rest of the body. It only leads to pain and dysfunction. At the heart of this discipline is the concept of amor fati, or the love of fate. Marcus argues that we should not just tolerate the things that happen to us, but actually embrace them. He uses the metaphor of a healthy stomach. A healthy stomach is one that can digest any food you give it. Similarly, a healthy mind is one that can digest any event, be it a sickness, a loss, or a stroke of bad luck, and turn it into something useful. He writes that everything that happens to you was woven into the fabric of the universe since the beginning of time. Therefore, to complain is to commit a crime against nature. When you stop resisting reality and start accepting it, you stop wasting energy on why is this happening and start using that energy to move forward. The discipline of will also involves the premeditation of evils, praemeditatio malorum. Marcus famously advises himself to start every day by telling himself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. This sounds pessimistic, but it is actually a strategy for peace. By anticipating that things might go wrong, you remove the element of surprise. When someone is rude to you, you don't get angry because you already processed that possibility in the morning. You are mentally prepared. This discipline creates an unshakable core. You are like a rock in the ocean. The waves keep crashing against you, but you remain standing, and eventually the sea around you becomes calm. Lastly, this pillar teaches internal independence. Marcus reminds us that we have no control over our health, our wealth, or our physical life in the long run. We are all renting these things from the universe. When the universe asks for them back, through old age or misfortune, we should give them back without a grudge. The only thing that truly belongs to you is your will, prohairesis. No tyrant can force you to believe something you don't want to believe, and no catastrophe can force you to become a bad person. This realization is the ultimate shield. By placing your happiness only in your will and your character, you become invincible to the whims of fortune.
Pillar 4. The view from above. The final pillar of Marcus's philosophy is a meditative technique known as the view from above. This is a cognitive tool used to gain perspective and dissolve the ego. Marcus lived in a world of constant pressure, imperial politics, military strategies, and the life and death decisions of millions. To prevent himself from becoming overwhelmed or arrogant, he would mentally zoom out of his own life and look down at the world from the perspective of the stars. He would imagine looking down at the cities of the world, seeing the crowds of people being born, dying, fighting, and celebrating. He realized that from that height, the mighty Roman Empire was just a tiny speck on a small planet, and his own life was just a blink of an eye in the vastness of time. This perspective shifting is a cure for self-importance and anxiety. Most of our problems feel massive because we are looking at them through a microscope. We think our reputation or our latest mistake is the center of the universe. But when you adopt the view from above, you realize how insignificant most of your worries are. You see that humanity has been dealing with the same problems for thousands of years, and you are just one part of a great, eternal cycle. Marcus also uses this pillar to contemplate mortality, memento mori. He writes, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." This isn't meant to be depressing. It is meant to be a clarion call to live with integrity and presence. When you realize that you, your enemies, and the things you are chasing will all be dust in a few years, you stop wasting time on trivialities. You stop chasing fame, because fame is just the clapping of hands by people who will soon be dead themselves. Instead, you focus on what is timeless, being a good person, right here and right now. Finally, the view from above leads to a sense of universal connection. Marcus believed that because we all share the same rational spark, we are all brothers and sisters. He says that we are like two rows of teeth designed to work together. This cosmic perspective melts away anger and hatred. How can you be angry at someone for being ignorant when you realize you both share the same short, fragile existence? This pillar brings a deep sense of humility and calm. It reminds us that we are part of something much larger than ourselves, the cosmos. By aligning our small individual will with the grand will of the universe, we find a peace that no external success can ever provide.
Conclusion: the path of the modern Stoic. We have traveled through the mind of the last great emperor, from the silent fortresses of the inner citadel to the vast cosmic perspective of the view from above. But the question remains, what do we do now? Marcus Aurelius did not write Meditations so that we could admire his words. He wrote it so we would change our lives. Stoicism is not a trophy to be displayed on a shelf. It is a tool to be used in the mud and the blood of daily existence. The legacy of Marcus Aurelius teaches us that there is no perfect time to be a good person. You don't need a quiet room, a special mood, or a life free of problems to practice virtue. In fact, it is exactly when life is at its loudest, when you are facing a deadline, dealing with a breakup, or struggling with your health, that Stoicism becomes most valuable. Marcus practiced his philosophy while leading an empire through a plague. Your empire might be your family, your business, or your own mental health, but the principles remain the same. To live as a modern Stoic is to embrace the radical responsibility of your own happiness. It is to stop waiting for the world to be fair and to start being just yourself. It is the realization that while you are a tiny speck in the universe, you are also the absolute king of your own character. Every morning when you wake up, you have a choice. You can be a victim of your circumstances, or you can be an architect of your soul. You can complain about the meddling and ungrateful people you meet, or you can see them as fellow travelers who, like you, are just trying to find their way in the dark. The beauty of Meditations is that it ends where it begins, with presence. Marcus reminds us that we are only ever living in the now. The past is a dream, and the future is a shadow. All you have is the next 60 seconds. If you can make those 60 seconds virtuous, if you can see clearly, act justly, and accept what you cannot change, then you have mastered the secret of the emperors.
You don't need to read 1,000 more books. You just need to start. As Marcus famously said, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one.
If you've made it this far, it means you're ready to stop drifting through life and start leading it. But philosophy without practice is just noise. Here is your Stoic challenge for today. Pick one thing that has been bothering you, a person, a failure, or an anxiety. For the next 24 hours, apply the discipline of perception. Strip away the labels. Stop calling it bad. See it for what it is, raw data. And ask yourself what virtue it allows you to practice. If this deep dive into the mind of Marcus Aurelius helped you find even a moment of clarity, then subscribe and join our community. We are building a digital inner citadel, where we turn ancient wisdom into modern strength. Leave a comment below with the word unshakable if you're committing to taking control of your mind today. Remember, the universe is change. Your life is what your thoughts make of it. Go out there and do the work of a human being.